Today, the curious case of Sean O'Malley. And is Zhang Weili heading to China for her next title defense? And everything else that happened at UFC 292. Here today on Matter of Fact MMA. Let's get into it. So, in the main event of UFC 292 that went down in Boston, bro, Sean O'Malley dethroned, I should say, Aljamain Sterling and became the new bantamweight champion of the world. Let's get into it. First off, hats off, tip of the hat to Aljamain Sterling. We're going to get into him in a second. But let's start with the man of the hour. Too sweet to be sour. I'm not going to keep rhyming. So there, you wanted me to finish the bar, but I didn't. Now what? Anyway, roll with your boy Matt on this. Sugar Sean O'Malley. So let's start with him. So when Sugar Sean O'Malley first came out after the Contender Series, he kind of had some hype, from Snoop. He embraced kind of like the herbal essence culture, if you will. So, he had the stamp of approval from Snoop. He was kind of making his way around in that world at that time. Like everybody was legalizing it. Everybody was opening dispensaries. All of this stuff was going on. So he leaned hard into that culture. Then you had the Twitch gaming culture, in which he leaned hard into that. He became a streamer. Dude would just sit there and get like all of these views from streaming him playing video games on Twitch. He was always appointment viewing on the MMA Hour. Him and Ariel seemed to have a pretty good rapport. So it was cool to see this dude, right? And his early fights were kind of interesting to me because, one of his earlier fights, after he won on the Contender Series and he starts having his actual UFC fights. And I'm sorry, I don't remember his opponent's name. I'll put it on the screen. But his opponent, during this fight, Sugar Sean injures his foot. And he gets like this bad foot injury where basically, the dude couldn't really stand anymore. This is towards the end of the fight. And all his opponent really had to do was keep him standing and put him away. Because Sugar Sean could not put any weight on that foot. And in what is probably one of the biggest examples of low fight IQ ever in the history of mixed martial arts. And I know that's putting it huge. There's probably a ton more. His opponent decides that instead of standing with him and going ahead and taking care of him on the feet, he wants to take him down to the ground in the third round in a fight that he's already losing, instead of standing him and finishing Sugar Sean, which could have totally changed this man's trajectory of his career. Both of them. Sugar Sean might never have been Sugar Sean. And then you got whoever the other guy is, no disrespect to that guy. Bro, you had a chance to beat Sugar Sean early on. Nevertheless, this guy takes Sugar Sean to the ground. Sugar Sean rides out the rest of the fight, and of course he wins, does the famous Joe Rogan interview where he's laying on his back, and Joe Rogan gets down there to interview him. So, bro, you go from there. Let's skip ahead to the fight with Chito Vera. This was a very interesting fight because at this point you're kind of wondering, is Sugar Sean the man? I don't really know, right? He talks a good game. Now he's gaining steam at this point still early in his career, but he's gaining traction. He's gaining steam. He's still streaming. He's still doing his thing, but he's gaining steam, bro. And you knew that Marlon Vera was a good fighter, but there was still a lot of unanswered questions about Marlon Vera. So these two go in there to fight, and bro, it almost like it ended before it got started. Like right when you're about to get into this chess match between these two guys that are now going to fight for the bantamweight championship. That's what it is. Spoiler alert, they're about to fight for the bantamweight championship. I don't know if it's going to go down in December, but it's going down. Anyway, you got Marlon Vera wins that fight after Sugar Sean has another leg injury, and Chito takes advantage of it and wins the fight by TKO. Bro, here's the deal, man. So at that time, you're like, okay, Chito Vera, let's put him on pause. We're not even diving into him. You're looking at Sugar Sean, and you're like, oh man, the dude lost. Here it is. You know what I'm saying? This could have derailed the hype train. This could have been it for him. That's that for him. Okay? Let's skip ahead. With one little thing before I skip ahead. Sugar Sean plays that off like he never lost the fight in true Chael Sonnen fashion. Acts like he never lost the fight. Has never acknowledged that Chito beat him. Acts like he didn't lose the fight, bro. Continues on. Let's move ahead. A USADA suspension off of some sort of I believe it was a tainted supplement, something like that. Some deal like that. Sugar Sean sits out. I don't remember how long his suspension was, but he sits out, for however long his suspension was. I'll throw it on the screen. However long his suspension was, the dude sits out, bro. And you're thinking, okay, not only has this guy kind of already stumbled, already took a loss to Marlon Vera, but now he's sitting out for this USADA suspension. And it's kind of unclear, like, how is this going to turn out? How is this going to shape out? I remember seeing Macy Barber giving an interview on something where they were kind of discussing all of the rookies that were coming up. This would include Sean O'Malley, I don't remember the others, it doesn't matter, and Macy Barber. And Macy Barber was taking shots at Sean O'Malley because he was sitting out and he couldn't fight. And she's like taking jabs at him, taking shots at him, like, I'm still active though, blah, blah, blah. She was taking shots at him because this is young, she's young in age, but this is young Macy Barber who is really hungry, you know what I'm saying? And so she's taking shots at Sean O'Malley, and it was kind of resonating. Like, people are kind of like, yeah, like Sugar Sean's talking, he's talking S from the side of the side, but bro, you can't even compete in the octagon because you're riding a suspension. So it's kind of like, bro, like, what's going to happen with this dude's career? Let's fast forward. He comes back, he has to fight, unknown guy who I was a fan of this little guy. I was a fan of this dude, little compared to Sean O'Malley, I should say. I was a fan of this guy in that fight. I don't remember his name either. I'll put it at the bottom of the screen. But the guy came in with green hair, and bro, him and Sugar Sean, that little guy, Sugar Sean, landed a tremendous amount of strikes and could not put that guy out, bro. He could not get that guy out of there. The fight was on short notice. That guy came in, and I was like, this dude he is a dog. Like, Sugar Sean could not get him out of there. And so that was kind of a weird fight. There was a win for Sugar Sean, but you're kind of like, bro, I don't really know who that guy is. I don't know. I feel like you should have got him out of there, and he didn't get him out of there. It went to the decision. Of course, Sean won. And you're kind of like, where's Sugar Sean going to go from here? By this time, he's kind of making a fool of himself at times in the media. So we think. I might be rethinking that now. And he's making but what's going on the side? He's making a ton of money off merch. He's making a ton of money, period, off of streaming, off of his podcast, off of endorsements, off of everything. Sugar Sean is low-key becoming the man financially, right? Right? I'm sure he's got his own strain. I'm sure he's got a hand in somebody's dispensary if he doesn't already own his own. I don't really know, bro. So you're kind of like, bruh, what is up with Sugar Sean? He's doing interviews talking about he wants a bigger contract with the UFC. And until they give him the money that he feels he's worth, he's just going to keep fighting no-name guys. He's not worried about it. He doesn't care who clowns him, who talks bad about him, who serves him in the public. He says, bro, I'm going to keep on fighting these unknown guys because I'm not really worried about it. Like, whatever, until the UFC pays me what I'm worth, because I earned my spot. I bring a highlight. I bring a highlight to any show I'm on, whether it's pay-per-view or a fight night. I bring my own fans. I got my own base. I want to be paid for this. Now, I'm rethinking all this because I'm one of these people like, whatever, Sean O'Malley. You need to get in there and fight the best of the best. You need to show prove yourself. You need to go in there and fight the best of the best. And Sugar Sean's over here like, no, bro, they're not paying me on a good contract yet. I'm not going to fight the best of the best. Matt, from Matter of Fact MMA. You know what I'm saying? He's clowning me. Not really, but you get what I'm saying. Bro, it would be quality if he was clowning me. Like if Sugar Sean was like, Matt, from Matter of Fact MMA, you don't know anything. I would be like, thank you, Sugar Sean, for that shout out, bro. Anyway, let's keep it moving. Bro, so Sugar Sean is, meanwhile, he's getting money on the low key on the side, bro. Like that's just what it is. And he's eating while other fighters are still kind of relying on, the random betting site, and they try to shout him out, or they're relying on their win and show money. Sugar Sean's making all this money on the low. Already bought a really nice home, already had really nice cars, already was living that life, right? So he's not worried about fighting the main contenders. They put him in there with Pedro Munoz, right? And Pedro Munoz, he's going to go in there and he's going to be game. He's going to go in there, he's going to put the paces on Sean O'Malley. And this fight begins, and you're thinking, bro, like, you know what I'm saying? Okay, they're filling each other out. I poked to Pedro Munoz. Ends the fight, bro. And you're like, what just happened there? Sugar Sean pivots and makes it out like, I won that fight. Dude couldn't continue. I won that fight, right? Which was strategic from a public relations kind of level, right? So poor Pedro Munoz, it's like, I don't know. He's still left out there, right? Here's the deal. Meanwhile, Chito Vera is out here skyrocketing to the top of the division, so to speak, right? Sorta, kinda. He's leveling up, and you're like, bro, like what, I don't know, like where's Sugar Sean fit in all of this, bro? Sugar Sean goes out here, he gets a fight with Piotr Jan, and this is somebody that, going into that fight, I'm like, he's going to get O'Malley out of there early. I didn't see a way that O'Malley was going to beat Piotr Jan. Now, they go to the scorecards. Decision goes Sean O'Malley's way. Still to this day, I personally scored that for Piotr Jan. I think the rest of the world scored that for Piotr Jan. So I believe that everyone pretty much knew Piotr Jan should have won that fight. But Sugar Sean wins it. So you're kind of looking at Sugar Sean like, man, he hasn't really proved himself. He hasn't really, like, what? Man, this is terrible. And you know that the UFC, who's all about the money, they're looking at it like, okay, that's all we need. We just need him to beat a top-rated contender. We just needed him to beat a guy that in the public's eyes should have wiped the floor with Sean O'Malley, and now we can give him a title shot. And then dude sits out for like, I don't know, like a year, bro. He's been out for like a minute. And, he just sits out and he chills, right? And I don't know, there might have been an injury involved in there. I don't know. Whatever happened. He's sitting out. I can't remember at this time why he sat out. Bro, meanwhile, he sits out while Aljo goes out here and has a crazy fight with Henry Cejudo, right? And after he beats Henry Cejudo, you're kind of looking at Aljo like, okay, it's a done deal. Aljo looks like nobody's going to stop him. He's going to go out there. He's going to watch Sugar Sean O'Malley. Fast forward to Saturday night. Sugar Sean O'Malley comes in, already has garnered the money, already has garnered the fame, right? When you look at his wins, when you look at his exact body of work in the UFC, why do so many people know who Sugar Sean is? Why is he recognizable? Because of all this low-key work this man had been putting in all this time that most of us hardcore fans kind of glossed over because we're like, oh, we're from the old school. Like, we're like, oh, you got to go out there and fight all these top contenders and earn a shot. Sugar Sean on the low is getting paid and increasing his visibility. So then he comes into this fight, getting, cheered, of course, over Aljo, but everybody boos Aljo. And he goes in this fight, and similar to Conor McGregor versus Jose Aldo, a fight that everyone who had any knowledge of anything just knew Jose Aldo was going to go out there and beat Conor McGregor. Sean O'Malley finishes him in the second round with almost the exact same technique. puts Aljo away. Aldo. Very similar, bro. Sean O'Malley's always talked about how he looks up to Conor McGregor. He looks up to how Conor McGregor approached the game. And he finishes him with almost the same technique that Conor used on Aldo. And you're looking at it and you're just like, what world are we living in? And now Sean O'Malley is the bantamweight champion of the world. And to be honest with you, when you look at that clean technique that he did on Aljo, like that punch was picture perfect, bro. I might be all in on Sugar Sean O'Malley. And I know that's like, oh, you're all in because he won and da-da-da. But yes, he won. And now that I've revisited his career and I'm looking at it through a different lens, what if Sugar Sean was smarter the whole time, bro? Like, what if he was smarter than everybody the whole time? Because he didn't come into this fight. He came into this fight with all of this hype and all of this visibility. And while the UFC has put some promotion behind Sugar Sean, for real, they have done that. He came into this with all of this hype, all of this visibility that he hustled. He created on his own. With his podcasts, with his endorsements, with his promotions, with all the brands he's partnered with everything, Like, he's come in on this. He did all this work on the low while other fighters, and he's been training the whole time. He's been training the entire time. As well as, it's been kind of rumored that, supposedly Sugar Sean had some sort of an injury that he sustained during training for this fight, that he came in, he didn't really have a chance to really work or practice on grappling or anything like that. So he just rolled the dice and went in there, a la some Conor mess, Like, he rolls the dice and goes in there with an injury, hasn't trained a lot with grappling, and lays him out with a clean right hand. I mean, the right hand was clean, bro. My dude. What, like, you gotta like that, you know what I'm saying? Like, you gotta get into that, you gotta like that. So shout out to Sugar Sean O'Malley, the bantamweight champion of the world. Aljamain Sterling, as I spoke about on previous videos, I said that Aljo is one of those guys that always does the wrong thing at the wrong time. He's a guy that, the guy can speak, he's talented. He's a talented fighter. He seems to be fairly entertaining. He's got a podcast. The guy's living it up. He's got the money. He looks good getting off the bus. You know what I'm saying? He seems to kind of have a little bit of a finger on the pulse of certain things that are cool and what's not cool. But he's not cool. I will say that. I'm not, shout out to Aljo, but he's not the coolest guy to me, or at least what he presents on TV. But he always does the wrong thing at the wrong time. I've said that numerous times in a lot of my videos. Numerous videos I've made, I've said that. And this is what kills me about Aljo, a guy that has always been reserved and calculated in the cage. Never let the noise get to him. Never worried about the fans booing him, F you Aljo chants, never bothered him. Never worried about the world making fun of him, clowning him. Guys like Matt talking about he's uncool. You know what I'm saying? Nothing ever got to this dude. Never rattled this dude. You know what I'm saying? And when it's all on the line and you're about to go up to 145 and challenge Alexander Volkanovski to become a two-division champion, he decides, and he admits this himself, he decides he wants to push the action. He wants to push the pace. He wants to make it an action fight in the second round. And that punch, he overextends himself. He throws a right hand. And you could just see, like, and he might have thrown the left hand. I don't know. It doesn't matter. Here's the point. If you notice right before that, if you notice right before that, Sean O'Malley is pawing at Aljo's lead hand, and he almost grabs him by the wrist for a second. And as Aljo kind of backs out of it, Aljo throws his shot. And he overextends the shot. O'Malley slips it and delivers. Might have slipped it this way. I'm not sure. It doesn't matter, bro. He slips it and lands this picture perfect right hand. And I believe Suga Sean shared this on his own Instagram. If he didn't, it's on MMA Instagrams out there. If you go out there and check them out. Also, check me out on Instagram under Matter of Fact MMA. I'm now on Instagram. We active on there. I just started it. It ain't got a lot on there, but mess with your boy because it's gonna be growing by the week. You know what I'm saying? Anyway, bro, here's the deal. He shared a clip of him practicing that exact technique where he would throw a front kick, and then he kind of throws a front kick when he knows the guy is far out, and it kind of baits the guy to move in closer, and then he steps to the side and hits him. Steps to the side and delivers that devastating right hand. You know what I'm saying? The same way that he got Aljo out of there. It's just amazing, bro. It is just like, it's just crazy that the way that he did that. And at the end of the day, bro, Aljo, it's like he always does. He finally, he's in the driver's seat. Dana's gonna give you the double title fight. And of all times, he finally succumbs to the noise and he decides he wants to push the pace of the fight. And wham. If you go back and you look at that clip, Aljo's face, like he saw it coming. He saw his future. You know what I'm saying? When homie looked at that punch and he was overextended, he couldn't block. Bro, he saw his future. He saw the loss. He saw his possibility of going up to 145 go away. He saw it all crashing down in that moment. At that moment, it was like one of those things. It was like one of those memes or something where it's like, you know you don't up, right? You done effed up, right? Like, bro, it was just amazing to see that go down, I should say. Wow. Anyway, Suga Sean O'Malley is the new bantamweight champion of the world. I'm sorry, I know that was long, but I had to get off into that real quick because this is a crazy world that we living in. Suga Sean. You know what I'm saying? But as I check my fizz on for my nizotes, you know what I'm saying? I don't know why I keep pronouncing it like that, but that's what I'm doing. I'm sorry, y'all. I just had a moment because like that was so interesting. It wasn't the best fight. First round was boring as H. It was terrible. First round was so boring. It was so boring. But it was your typical Aljo round. I can't believe Aljo finally decides he wants to be an action fighter against Sean O'Malley. Like, you should have did that against Henry Cejudo, against Sean O'Malley, the guy who's known to capitalize like that. That's who you choose to push the pace on. Crazy. Anyway, let's dive into the co-main event. I don't know, that might have made this video too long. I might have to cut this in half, bro. I might have to cut this video in half because I might have went too long on that. But it was just so interesting, you know. Anyway, co-main event, Zhang Weili. Zhang Weili goes out there and defends the strawweight championship of the world against Amanda Lemos. There's not a lot to say about this fight. You know, it was a true domination by Zhang Weili. Even dropped Amanda Lemos hard one time. One good time for the good time. Dropped her hard. So, great fight. You know, for the most part, you know, Zhang Weili's greatest thing she ever did her entire career was have that training camp with Henry Cejudo and Captain Eric. Bro, that was the smartest thing this woman ever did. And it is still paying dividends. That woman's wrestling, that woman's top pressure, that woman's, scrambles, she has no willingness to give up any ground in a submission position. Like when Amanda Lemos almost had like a ninja choke on her, Zhang Weili was like calm, collected, and with it. did not panic at all, just kind of felt it out, knew she could land some body shots, you know, bro, Zhang Weili is a beast. And so, as I said in the opening of this video, bro, Zhang Weili, two things is about to go down. If the UFC actually books that arena in China, bro, Zhang Weili is going to China. She's going to defend her championship against Zhang Xiaonan. Straight up, that's what's going to happen. That's not a hot take. Everybody kind of saw that going on. But if something falls through and they can't book that arena, she's fighting Tatiana Suarez. Now, if I could dive into the brain of the UFC, of the matchmakers, you know, if I could dive into their brains real quick, which is probably a wild, exotic place, bro, they're probably leaning on that payday of doing a show in China against, two Chinese fighters for the strawweight championship. So that's probably what they're leaning on. That's so rare, and they really want to, go into that market. That's probably the big money deal. But if there's an injury, if something throws that off, if something different happens, then Tatiana Suarez is in the fold. Either way, it would be an outstanding fight. I mean, I definitely got to favor Zhang Weili in a fight with Zhang Xiaonan. But, Tatiana Suarez, bruh, that's a fight, because this is that back to old school savage Tatiana Suarez. This is it. This is that Tatiana Suarez that, she'll sit down at the lunch table, reach over, take a bite out your sandwich, reach in your pocket, take your lunch money, then shove you off of the lunch chair, take your Jordans, and keep it moving. This is that Tatiana Suarez. You know what I'm saying? You know what I'm talking about? Bro. Her versus Zhang Weili, this, Henry Cejudo, Captain Eric, Prodigy, Zhang Weili, you know what I'm saying? Even though she was only with him for a few training camps, I believe. I don't know. Bro, whatever they taught her during those camps, it working. And so, bruh, that's just what it is. So that definitely, either way, the UFC is going to be printing money with either one of those fights. So that's all good. Let's keep it moving as I check my Nizzos. Bruh, Ian Machado Gary goes out there, puts on a clinic against Neil Magny. Neil Magny was not ready for what was done. I don't know what happened to Neil Magny's leg. I mean, Ian McGarry. I said Ian McGarry again. Like, I'm trying to make this guy Conor McGregor so bad. I'm not trying to, but I am. Bro, Ian Gary goes out there with those devastating leg kicks, and Neil Magny's whole left leg just could not handle it. Like, his left leg, I don't know. It was like his left leg was stiff before the fight even started. Because the first leg kick, Neil fell hard. Oh, I'm watching that fight at the crib, and I'm like, one of the leg kicks was so devastating, the way that Neil fell. He looked like an old dude that slipped and fell out of bed. Like, he just kind of landed kind of like almost already in a fetal position, but on his back. He was kind of like, boom. And I was like, bruh, Neil, like, pull it together, Neil. Like, my God, try to show something for yourself. No disrespect. Shout out to Neil Magny. But, bro, Ian Gary went out there and did his thing. So shout out to Ian Gary. Tremendous call out against Wonder Boy. Tremendous fight that they end up signing that. I like how he's being very complimentary, very nice of Wonder Boy. That's a good tactic. That'll bait Wonder Boy into that fight. And probably once the ink is dry on the dotted line of that contract, he's going to tear into Wonder Boy. But it's a good way to bait him into it, talk about how tremendous of a striker he is and everything, which he is. And that would be an outstanding striking fight. Ian Gary is so intelligent, it wouldn't shock me if he grappled in that fight and then finished Wonder Boy on the feet. But we'll see if the UFC ends up signing that tremendous fight. Let's go into Marlon Vera and Pedro Munoz. Marlon Vera goes out there with Pedro Munoz and had a pretty good showing, but really, it was like, I definitely feel like Chito won 2 rounds to 1. Of course he won the third round. And I don't know. I don't know about those the first two. I mean, because Pedro definitely took one of the rounds. So I was fine with Cheeto winning, especially after the devastation in that third round. But bro, Cheeto didn't look the best in those first 2 rounds, in my opinion. But the way that his trajectory going upward has kind of been parallel to Sean O'Malley's, and now, he's getting that title shot. I mean, the UFC is going to print money. Oh my God. I wish I could be somebody who makes money off the UFC. A shareholder, Dana White, Hunter Campbell, Sean Shelby, Mick Maynard, somebody, bro. Joe Silva, anybody, bro. I wish I could be getting some money. I don't know if they, whoever, bro. Fatita Brothers, I wish I could be in a position to make some money off of the UFC because, bro, they're going to print money with Sean O'Malley defend the bantamweight championship against Chito Vera. Like, that's going to be a huge fight, especially if they can book it in one of their hometowns, But, bro, either way, it's going to be huge. Huge. Like, bro, Chito Vera has a huge following. Everyone loves Chito Vera. Everyone likes Chito. You know what I'm saying? That could be its own TV show. That could be a sitcom. Everyone loves Chito. Bro. But then you got Sugar Sean O'Malley, who is now going to be a star. The UFC is going to strap the rocket ship to him. If you go back and you look, when Dana White was hooking the belt around Sean O'Malley's waist, I mean, bro, Dana White gave him an extra rub because Dana White knows the money that he's about to make off Sugar Sean. You know what I'm saying? He knows. He's rubbing Sean O'Malley on the shoulders. Oh, Sean. You know what I'm saying? I mean, Dana White knows what's up. Dana White ain't never been so happy to pin a belt around somebody other than when he pinned it around Conor McGregor's waist when he beat Jose Aldo. The parallels don't stop. But bro, all I'm saying is that's going to be a huge fight. Even though Chito didn't look the best in those first 2 rounds against Pedro Munoz. Shout out to Pedro Munoz. He tremendous showing of himself, but Chito's cardio just kicked in that third round. And plus, I mean, he caught Pedro Munoz early, bro, in the third round. It was devastating. And I don't think Pedro ever recovered for the rest of that round. But dude, great fight, and now we're gonna see Pedro. I'm sorry, I said Pedro. We ain't gonna be seeing him against Sean O'Malley. We're gonna see Sugar Sean O'Malley in there with Marlon Vera, main event of somebody's show. You know what I'm saying? For the Bantamweight Championship. Who knew? Like, who would have thought, bro, years ago when Chito defeated Sean O'Malley because of that leg injury, that this was going to come around. And it's almost like Sean O'Malley knew. Like, he almost had the foresight. And he didn't, but the way that he always played that, like Chito never beat him. He never acknowledged it. How well is all the footage of these two interviewing over the years and saying mean things, talking crazy about each other? How well is that going to be put together in a package by the UFC? Bro, I mean, all of those interviews on the MMA Hour, I'm having Chito Vera on today. What does he have to say about Sean O'Malley? Not saying that he ever lost to him. Oh, Sugar Sean's on here today. Like, bro, that is going to play so well, my dude. Like, the UFC is about to eat off of this pay-per-view. It's going to be great. Great. Outstanding. Shout out to Chito Vera. Good on him, bro. Good on him. That's going to be a great fight. RoboCop goes out there and defeats Dennis. Might have been a little trickery. A little trickery in there. Might have been a behind the head shot on the ground. That might have really been what knocked him out. But nevertheless, shout out to old Gregory Rodriguez, old Greg Cop, old RoboCop, doing his thing out there. Kurt Hullabaloo. No disrespect to him. Goes out there, beats Austin Hubbard. He is your new 155 pound Ultimate Fighter. So shout out to him. How about Brad Katona and Cody Gibson go in there and put it all on the line? All on the line, bro. I'm checking my Nizzos. Bro, these two, I don't know. I mean, in any other world, if that was two like high on the, higher guys on the card, if that fight happened between two guys that are higher on the card in the upper echelon of fighters, that's a fight of the year contender. That was back and forth. They were throwing shots. That was amazing. So any other place, that bantamweight fight would have been a candidate for fight of the year. Still might be, but I wonder if because it was two guys fighting for the Ultimate Fighter, if it won't be considered. But nevertheless, shout out to Brad Katona. He is also your bantamweight Ultimate Fighter. Andre Petrosky goes out there and defeats GM3. GM3, bro, I mean, man, I don't know. GM3, that third round kicked in, and GM3 came out there for blood in the third round. Shout out to him, bro. Shout out to him. How about Natalia Silva? Goes out there and made a horror story. You know what I'm saying? A horror show of Andrea Lee's face. I mean, Andrea Lee looked like Michael Myers had met up with her in the octagon. She looked like, I mean, bro, like, it was rough. Her face looked bad, but Natalia Silva goes out there and puts on a clinic. That was outstanding. Last thing I want to touch on here real quick, big win by Karine Silva. That was cool, but last thing I want to touch on, shout out to Chris Weidman. Chris Weidman goes out there with Brad Tavares, and in a fight where multiple times Chris Weidman's both legs was messing up, both legs was giving out. Bro, to see Chris Weidman, keep getting kicked in the horribly injured leg, and to just point at Brad Tavares and show that fire. You could tell that Chris Weidman doesn't have the leg strength that he used to have to finish those takedowns. So the wrestling wasn't a huge factor. But bro, shout out to Chris Weidman. Salute Chris Weidman for the fact that he went out there, bro, and he put it all on the line, my dude. Like, he put it all on the line, man. He could not use his primary skill being wrestling. Brad Tavares, shout out to him. He gets the win, but Weidman laid it all on the line, bro. So big ups to him. Shout out to him. I feel like he should probably also hang it up. But if anything, I mean, he showed a lot of fire, towards the end of that fight. So, if the UFC wants to give him another fight, it needs to be against just some up-and-comer, somebody out the Contender Series that's not that good, or something, give Weidman a win, just because the UFC should give him one more fight against a guy that he can just go out there and work real quick. You know what I'm saying? Just a molly whopping kind of match. He just give him somebody who can go out there and work real quick and go out on a win, because he put it all on the line for the UFC in this fight. Because, I mean, that dude, he was trying everything he could, but it wasn't a lot left. But nevertheless, bro, UFC 292, I appreciate you guys for checking out this video. I know it was a long one, but I just had to get into that Suga Show thing. That was just crazy to see how that just played out. That was crazy on a different level. You know what I'm saying? I mean, in a fight that pretty much all of us were picking Aljo. That was just crazy, the technique that he used to slip that shot and deliver that right hand. It was amazing. So, again, I appreciate you guys for watching another episode of Matter of Fact MMA. And, we coming right back with it. I'm sure there's going to be a fallout today on the MMA Hour. We're going to see about the new interviews, fallouts, and everything that's going on from UFC 292, and we're going to go into this weekend's show as well. So, I appreciate you guys. Thank you for checking out another video. I check you then. Peace.